Umbro, charisma. What actually made you want to ask me about it?
Yeah, I was told I'm very, I don't move much. I give zero. You know the Asian stereotype where you're just sitting there, you're just
Yeah.
completely still, you don't blink, you don't breathe, nothing. Like the max apparently I get was
So acknowledge
that's
what
the
you're alive.
max every few minutes. Exactly. Every few minutes you'll just get that.
Mhm.
That's it.
So essentially, it was to go beyond that because it's not necessarily related. I mean, being animated, it's actually being animated is a part of it, but it's not necessarily because I mean that can be a part of your charisma. Actually, if you add some more things, you
Mhm.
can be that Asian guy who's like, like
Exactly,
no.
exactly. That's what I get. Apparently, people get excited. They in a meeting, for example, or in the coaching calls. That's just me. I barely move, so people might doubt whether or not the message got across. That's one. And the other thing is, does this guy even care?
Mhm.
And yes, I am listening, and yes, I do care, but apparently, it doesn't look like I am.
How about that? Let me just go down my notes on charisma then, whatever specific things we can talk about, what we can do, and you can implement in your sales calls, conversations. With charisma, I don't have a good definition of it. It's you see a person who is charismatic, you're like that dude, but there is no specific. It's like you cannot say charismatic person is someone who does this, this, and that. However, there are some specific, I guess you can say, characteristics which
Hmm.
are essentially characterizes someone with charisma. So charisma is not looks. If you have charisma and looks, you're a winner in life. You don't need anything else. You got charisma,
Yeah.
you got looks. That's it. You don't need anything else. If you don't have looks or if you're working on your looks, charisma will beat looks for a number of reasons. One, I guess it's not necessarily a definition, but one aspect is charismatic person has a strong frame and absorbs frames of others. But again, the issue with that definition is like, okay, so how do I absorb frame? Because you can come through and start dominating everyone directly. You're not going to be charismatic. You're going to be a Mr. Dominator. So it's kind of like
Hmm.
it might work in some circumstances, but in the end, it's not what we're looking for. So three three main signs of a charismatic person. First one is breaking down communication templates. Communication templates is what I expected. If the expectation is like how our conversation is supposed to go, basic example is like if the regular conversation goes 1 2 3, charismatic person will go 1 2 3 guten morgen. It's can you think of an example? It's with me, with boys, with somebody else, where it's like, oh, that's unexpected.
No, no, not really. I mean, our topics are usually just out of the blue, and it just jumps from one messed up situation to what the WTF situation to another. So,
I actually came up with one example. For example, on a sales call, basic expectation. It's like, hey, Amro, how are you doing? Instead of come on a sales call. It's breaking a template. It's breaking a template, and of course, it's just you being all silent. It doesn't mean you're charismatic, but it's out of a out of ordinary. It's out of ordinary.
mm-mm.
The person's like, hey, what's going on? And you're like,
Yeah,
okay,
it's like unselling. Like, oh, I'm not sure I want to do this, and then be like, okay, yeah, don't
don't.
do it. Yeah, but what the hell? No.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's a part of it. But when it comes to breaking templates, two of the bigger things, like more practical advice, is first one is actually learn to joke. Learning to joke is not easy. Plus, that's when you're practicing, you will crash and burn. Because even sometimes I notice myself, I say something and I was like, that didn't land at all. It's just price of a game. I actually talked to one younger guy who is half my age, and he said something stupid to me. I was like, you know what? If you want to practice your communication skills, practice. Just think whom you practice with. Because if it's someone you just know, someone like a friend or some acquaintance, if you're not sure it will land, just practice with them. Worst case scenario, you will crash and burn. It's not too critical. But if you're not too sure in your abilities and it's like your boss or something, this is where you would tread lightly. Simply because you say some off-color joke, it wouldn't land. Now you're unemployed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's one thing, and the second thing is I wrote in my notes as being more bright, but bright is more like noticeable and distinguished in a tasteful way, because the classical, okay, let me grab attention by having yellow eyebrows. I mean, you can dye your eyebrows yellow, you will grab attention. Is it the type of attention you want? Because I mean, in your case, in some circumstances, you have fantastic background lights, you're well groomed, well presented, nice microphone, nice shirt. Sure, doesn't look like you just scrolled from a forest. It's like, I'm ready, need to hop on a call. So it's that type of noticeable speech patterns. One thing I stand out by is my accent, of course, and it's not good or bad. It's just a fact, but it's a noticeable characteristic.
Okay, so being different, basically, when you say be bright, you mean just be different. Or grab attention.
Be different, grab attention, but see, my biggest issue is sometimes people do it in a very strange way. You're typical, the stereotype of some PUA who is like, I'm peacocking, so I have a weird-ass hat. It's kind of like, sure, maybe somewhere in the club, if you play a character, or if you're a musician, or you do something, it works. But if you show up like this, I don't know, for an interview, for a sales call, unless you're selling some artsy product. If you sell some artsy product and you come for like this, it's kind of like, But if we're selling some lead generation stuff, it's like, bruh, it's a bit weird. Yeah. So any questions, any clarifications on that for you specifically?
Yeah, remind me again, what was the second one? The second point you had?
I wrote it as learn how to be more bright. Or are you talking about first one before it?
No, you mentioned like 3 points, right?
That's first, 3 points. Main one is break down communication templates and learn to joke and be more bright. It's a part of it. It's actually actionable.
No, the one that's above those. Literally the point before this one. Oh, it was the when you jump into, let's say we jump in a call, I not only take frame, but I absorb yours, something like that.
Yeah. It wasn't the point. It was more like one of a potential definition. But see, the issue with that definition is it's one of those things where, I mean, that's a definition, but there's a nuance. And there's a one off-color joke about nuance, which I will tell you off recording. You will love it.
Okay.
So it's actually one way to look at it is if you come to the place, and it doesn't matter if it's like a new group you meet or an interview, it's, are you going for what's acceptable here, how would I get accepted, or do you start doing something to attract attention? But again, it must be tasteful. It must be tasteful. So for example, if it's just meeting some people, like, I don't know, in a bar somewhere, instead of just sitting there listening for conversations, you start talking to everyone. That would be example in that case. It's a, hey, how are you doing? Yeah, I'm Amro, this and that. And I will cover it later because it's a part of a charisma. In a job interview, it can be, instead of like, okay, so with my experience, I have been working for a lead generation agency, and over 6 months I generated over 400. It's kind of like, sure, give that information. Make sure people can listen, people can hear you. Tonality, of course, which I will mention in a bit, and throw a joke, make it tasteful. Because it's when I was going for an interview in a company which the actual story didn't end very well, but you know the actual story. But when I started, I was like, you know what, yeah, this and that. I mean, my actual story, I thought I will be My life will be military service in the U.S. military. And with my accent, people like everyone starts cracking up because it's actually kind of funny. Here's that dude with a specific accent, specific name, specific face. It's like, oh yeah, let me clarify. That landed pretty well, and this is how you stand out.
Okay.
Is it clear? Maybe I should clarify something.
Yeah, no. It's basically like taking control of the room, or in sales terms, taking the frame.
Taking a frame.
But yeah, but more with your body language and as opposed to just with words.
Both. It's it's all feeds off each other. It's what you say, how you look, how you behave. Because believe me, that particular stereotype when you're sitting there, that can be a part of your charisma. How to actually build that, I'm not sure, because you will have to build on top of it. But being that stoic guy who barely blinks, but when time is right, he says something and everyone cracks up, that can be your charisma.
Okay.
Or it can be a part of it. So it's like you can be very animated and then a person starts saying something which is totally off or starts rationalizing and you're like... That can be that template breakdown where you're breaking a template of communication.
Right, okay.
In marketing terms, it can be pattern interrupt. But in marketing terms, again, sometimes we do some very weird off-color things which grab attention. But in a conversation, not all attention is good. Because if people start looking at you, dude bro is weird. It's not the attention we want. It's like, he is unusual, not necessarily bad. He is maybe a bit strange, eccentric. It's not necessarily bad. Bro is weird. No. And that actual grabbing attention is the second point. Charismatic person is the center, like a center of attention, but center of good attention. Because usually, when people misunderstand it or try to stand out, we're becoming either that annoying weirdo or a clown. You know the typical stereotype of a class clown in school.
Yeah.
He's the center of attention, but not the type of attention.
The wrong attention, yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. And usually it's done with, it's connecting with people. You introduce yourself, you get to know people. Warmth, Luke actually talked about it because when he mentioned the topic of charisma, he specifically mentioned warmth. Not like that, because you know the stereotype is like a stoic guy who's like... It's, it works for movies, or it can be used tactically and tastefully. But in the end, be warm, be positive, remembering people's names. Remembering people's names, it's big. And you probably notice it when someone, like, I don't know, maybe in a place you live, like a security guard or something. You talk to him once. You see him in 2 weeks, it's like, hey John, or whatever their name is. People are surprised you remember their names.
Yeah, it makes them feel special.
And it's one of those things. And on a topic of feeling special, inviting people in a dialogue. You're in a company. So you talk to one guy, it's like, on one topic, it's like that somebody is next, you know, like typical, maybe someone is a wallflower or something, and you're like, hey John, what do you think on a topic? People rarely do that, and the John will remember you, and it's like, oh Jesus Christ, he has actually invited me in a conversation.
Yeah.
Any questions?
It makes sense because, no. It makes sense because imagine like you and I are taking, having a conversation, and there's literally someone there who's minding their own business. They're clearly listening to us, and I just joined them in. Now they feel part of the team, part of our conversation. And eventually, if they would like to have more conversation with us, they'll be more approachable to me because I'm the one who is warm, like you said.
And
so I can see how that's positive.
Yeah, and mind you, if that person is never not too communicative for whatever reason, whatever natural shyness or lack of communication skills or whatever, a person will not be more willing to open up. he or she will be super grateful to you. It's like, oh, Amro, it's actually someone paid attention. You know, like in a sales call, you talk to a prospect and you allow them to be themselves and open up, and you're actually listening. Where like, I love you, Amro. No one ever listened for me like you.
Yeah, that's true.
And one last factor when it comes to being the center of attention is, well, I mean, talk to people, talk to everyone. And that's actually one of the practices is literally talking to everyone. You know, the typical, like, you're standing in a line in a store and you talk to a cashier, it's like, are you tired of those annoying customers, aren't you? And so you're like, yes. Stuff like that, because, again, and it's kind of pattern interrupt. Because you just say, hey, how are you doing? Sometimes, again, depends where you are. People don't say anything. It's like, hello, thank you, bye.
Yeah.
And very, very good point. Sometimes it's easy to be self-conscious. It's like, oh, what people are thinking about me. The good reframe is go from what people think about me, start thinking about other people. So instead of like, okay, so do I look good? What am I? Our typical sales thing. What type of question do I ask? Instead of thinking, what type of question do I ask? Which is kind of thinking about you. It's like, okay, how can I help Jennifer with her whatever issues she has? Or in a case of a regular conversation, it's like, John is sitting here just looking at us. It's like, I wonder if he is like what he thinks on a topic, something like that. Tell me if it makes sense.
No, it does make sense. It's always instead of focusing too much on your own perception, it's looking at other people's perspective by looking at their own perception as well. That's also something we're working on. So it also blends into this topic.
And it's kind of counterintuitive because you think about, wait, I'm a center of attention, but I pay attention to other people. Yes, because you're bringing them to you, and it's almost like you are, I don't want to say absorbing them because it's kind of sound like something from a horror movie. So don't absorb people.
Yeah.
But
no, I get it.
You're getting their attention, and I mean, it's almost like you come into a social situation, and it's probably the best example of sales is when we have multiple people, like that funny practice we had where I had to communicate with three gentlemen, or some of Lucas examples with two people, like husband and wife. It's like you are almost like you're building a small social, not a social circle, almost like it's small communication map of a sort. So it's kind of like, I mean, you talk to the husband, when you talk to wife, you bring wife into a specific conversation on a specific topic. When you talk to husband about how about what his wife said, when you tie it to the entire offer, blah blah blah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's taking everyone and walking side by side, as opposed to, oh, let's have our separate conversation and then, okay, I'll get back to you later. No, it's bringing everyone and walking together.
Yeah, precisely.
To get to the certain goal.
Precisely. And the third one, and actually it's funny because I talked to one of my dudes earlier today, and I showed him a video of me. I recorded, and he was like, I mean, you didn't really say that much, because it was a super basic, maybe like 30-40 second recording, like pretty basic one. And he was like, give me a feedback. He was like, I can see charisma. I was like, how? I didn't do it. It was literally just some basic stuff. And he was like, being true. I was like, true to who you are. I was like, that checks out. Because that's actually a third point, is being true to who you are. Kind of like, on one hand, we do have to be formless on one hand. On another hand, you're not changing who you are. You're not changing your personality. It's basic example is, if it's a type dude you talk to, you're more direct. If it's a older lady, you're more calm, you're more empathetic, but you don't change who you are. It's that's a bit hard to explain. Maybe if you ask me a question on a topic, I will be able to explain it better.
No, it's assuming formlessness but don't assume someone else's character.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Because it's in the end I can optimize my communication to A-type athlete or a older lady, but at the same time I still be that same guy with the same views, with the same accent, and if I need to call that person out on something, I will. Again, I will do it in a different way, because it's actually one of the biggest, with being true to yourself, the biggest mistake is I have people like this in my life who happen to be my relatives, who are like, I don't care, I will talk to anyone whichever way I want to. And it's kind of like, so let me get it straight. You talk to your mother, to your boss, to a cashier, to a police officer, to your doctor, to, I don't know, to your friend, and it's all same way. It's a bit, how would I say it, a bit socially uncalibrated, and that's a classical British understatement.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually one of the biggest things that's very important, staying true to yourself, again, to stand out when you are around the higher status people. Because think of a just basic example, interviews with how big bosses were deciding if they will hire us or not, and you're like, and that was my mistake, and you probably have seen it in a similar fashion. It's an example of one of your last fantastic interviews versus previous ones. Now just like, you know what, let me stand out, let me be more direct, in a tasteful way. Because if you try to fit in that specific mold, it's like, hello, my name is Andre, I have been in sales for and you're like, just another dude. We wouldn't even listen for you, because we will just read off your weak body language, weak tonality. But then you can still talk about the experience, but at the same time throw something.
Yeah, so if you're a chill guy and you talk to an A-list person, you don't necessarily have to be this stern and stoic, even because that's not you. But obviously adapt to his mentality and his persona. And for example, if you talk to someone who's very joyful, a joyful lady who's very just happy all the time, you can joke and laugh with her, but don't be a class clown, because again, that's not you.
Yeah, and actually one of the biggest things with the higher status people, think about everyone who wants something from them. It doesn't matter, it's like, oh, please hire me, or it's someone who just like, hey John, you got money, give me money, it's give me 100k a year job, bro, it's nothing for you, bro. And everyone just tries to fit them. And here you are coming through and you're like, you know what, I don't care. I mean, it's like, I know what I'm capable of. Throw me in the ocean with sharks and I will serve you a platter of sashimi. It's like, I kind of like it. So it's,
Right.
because from this point of view, you're not threading lightly, because that's that's a pretty that's a pretty brave statement. Someone might say it's arrogant, but it's like, hey, depends how you say it. But then it's like, or a dude just values himself or understands his strengths and say, I mean, there is no point for me to play around or play someone I'm not. This is who I am, and I will not adapt to the fact that you're a high status individual and be like, please hire me. The odds are we might appreciate it.
Yeah, always have self-respect.
That's a part of it, absolutely. And when it comes to that last piece of advice, check with yourself. It's similar to one I said about the second point. Check with yourself, and if you notice you feel uncomfortable, switch focus from you to the other person.
Okay.
Any questions on that?
No. That's when you feel uncomfortable because you feel like the spotlight is on you. So you basically trick yourself by taking that same spotlight and shining it on them. Be like, hey, tell me more about what you ate yesterday, and have a conversation from there.
And that, I mean, if you can play it off, it can be a pattern interrupt. It's like someone talks about lead generation. It's like, hey John, what did you eat yesterday? But I mean, you need to make sure, because it's very easy, and it's actually one of the fears why people don't develop charisma. Because actually, charisma is 100% you can develop it. No one is born with it, and I can tell you, even someone who is by nature communicative and creative, you can put that person in such a conditions what he or she will be. Yes, okay. yes, I'm sorry. That type of person, you can develop it. Why people generally don't develop it? Because it's not like discomfort, it's you will crash and burn. If you do it more precisely. I mean, because it's better to crash and burn around people you don't care about. This is where you just go out, start talking to people, they look at you like you're a weirdo. Guess what? Who gives a fuck? You're not gonna see them again. No one cares.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like you want to be careful. Don't joke about your boss's wife or something. It might not end up well.
Yeah.
And a few additional notes on that. I mentioned warmth, but warmth, smile, positivity. Don't be unsmiling idiots who are sitting there with a fake smile. It's kind of like be open, be positive, be happy to see people, but don't be fake, because it's one of the biggest things. It's not just US. I saw it in our places, but probably US is the most known for it. You know, that fake smile. Someone gives you that, and their face smiles, eyes don't, and it looks like it's like, are you a psychopath? Are you about to bite my face off? What's going on? So it's kind of like, I mean, sure, be positive, be smiley, but again, it doesn't mean you're supposed to be like, hey, how are you doing? I'm so happy you are with me. You're like, bro, it's weird. Are you on drugs? What's going on? Because I mean,
Yeah.
you can lose your smile if someone talks about some tragedy in a family. Don't be like, oh yeah, I mean, your mother has died. Let me talk to you about what we can do for your generation. Don't be that. So this is why a lot of salespeople receive a negative rap, because again, lack of social collaboration. But in general, talking to people, say, hey, how are you doing? It's like almost like you're happy to see them, because generally, people are not. Even with a family, I mean, everyone got issues in their life, and here you are, genuinely warm, genuinely positive, than necessary. You're like, huh, kinda like this guy. Any questions on that?
No. It's just lots of practice now needs to be implemented. That's the only thing.
And with warmth and positivity, there is one thing which I actually used to struggle with a lot, being disarming. Disarming because, I mean, there are a ton of people, negative people what are trying to sell me, or in general, you know, sometimes it's, it doesn't matter if it's on a sales score or you're approaching a woman. And someone is aggressive, and you saw it in some of our boys, it's like, initial reaction is to be aggressive back. And I used to struggle with it too, and not necessarily in sales, but in my day-to-day life. Being aggressive back, there is a time and place when you're supposed to be aggressive, because again, as you said earlier, don't tolerate disrespect. But at the same time, if you see what the actual, the conversation becomes more and more, not necessarily hostile, but you know, it's kind of, you feel like something is getting off and off. Probably the best thing, instead of adding more negativity or more aggression, you can try to disarm them. You know, the typical, it's like you're trying to sell me. It's like, John, I'm not trying to sell you anything yet. Do you want me to try to sell you something? It's like, something along those lines. You will have to tailor it more. Might not be the best example. Again, you tailor it more to a specific person. But disarming does wonders.
Yeah. So when basically someone is starting a fire, don't make it worse by pouring gasoline on it, and now the whole thing is on fire.
Well, see, the thing is, it depends, because some people, they can just they can give you such a high level of disrespect. It's like there is no point of disarming, and if a person is like this, might as well just hang up on them, or say, it's like, you know what, you are stuck, you will remain stuck. You deserve to be stuck there, because there is a time and place. It depends of level to things. This is why it's kind of hard to write a book about charisma, because many questions answer is it depends, or yes, but there is a nuance. This is why it's most of it you learn with practice.
Yeah. And, that's what was going through my head. It was like, okay, I get everything now. I just need to practice a lot.
But I mean, see, it's you will, even with every practice, it doesn't matter. It's like there still will be a ton of mistakes. You still will be learning new things, because I can tell you what, even I don't necessarily get everything. For me, it's I developed some level of charisma, and I developed it by accident. I developed it by accident simply because, actually thinking about that, I grew up your typical introverted kid who is like books, video games, but because I actually read books, so this is why it's like when the entire, I guess, broadening of horizons come into play is because if you notice with our communication, with voice or something else, it's almost like I'm not sure what would be the best way to describe it. Almost like I am assembling different pieces in my conversation. It's like joke. I tie this, I tie that experience to this. Is it? I know it's not too clear. Does it make sense? Kinda.
No, I get you. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So and this is where actually living an interesting life, because it's a super basic advice. Live interesting life, but this is where it comes into play, and it can be talking to different people. Traveling to different places, and traveling not like you went to the dozen of countries and you stay at the same resort and you don't do anything. It's like, oh yeah, I have been to 10 countries. Technically you have been to one country because you have been the same resort.
You've not seen anything yet.
Yeah, so it's talking to different people, even reading different books. See, technically even like, I don't know, watching movies, TV series. Problem is many people, they do nothing but watch movies, TV series, play video games, and all they become is a chat GPT of a pop culture cliches. You encounter people like this and you're like, bruh, you're just copy and paste. You're just literally saying the same phrase from the same movie everybody else says, so I cannot necessarily give that as an advice, but essentially assembling, I'm not sure what you're supposed to assemble. You're not assembling your character, assembling your experiences from different places.
Yeah.
Slightly different view for this is, and this is
exactly
where humor and other aspects come into play. Go ahead.
No, it's just saying things from your life experience as opposed to just quoting something, like you said, out of a book or script or film.
But see, again, it's in the end we're still, because I can tell you where a ton of things, a ton of some phraseology, some things I use, I actually got it from somewhere. Some things I came up myself. Some things I actually heard somewhere, and it's kind of I ingrained it, and now I use it in my own personal way. For example, it's actually, this is not a head, it's a computer. I actually heard it from someone, and I was like, it's kind of weird, but it's kind of funny. So I used it a few times. I was like, I guess now it's mine. So things like that.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, and the last thing I would mention is communication skills in general, which something we work on. It's tonality. It's being able, what people can hear you. Because sometimes boys are talking like this because we're afraid of being judged, and you're like, huh? So it's tonality, social calibration, etc., because you can be, charisma, you need to get your charisma across. And communication skills is essentially a delivery method. Tell me if my long-ass yapaphone was beneficial for you, for maybe any questions, any clarification.
No. Everything was very clear. It's just now I need to implement a lot of what we just discussed. That's really it.
Well, thank you very much. Please come again, as the saying goes.
All right. Yeah, this was very helpful. Thank you.